Today, we're breaking down a true masterclass in turning vision into action. The U.S. Army's Doctrine Publication 5.0, The Operations Process. Now, this is a framework for leadership when the stakes are as high as they get. But believe me, its lessons go way, way beyond the battlefield.
All right, let's just jump right in with this absolute gem from Dwight D. Eisenhower. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything. Now, at first glance, that sounds like a total contradiction, right? But it perfectly captures the paradox at the heart of leadership, and it's the core of what we're going to unpack today.
So what is this paradox all about? Well, it's about a simple, kind of brutal truth. No plan, and I mean no plan, no matter how smart you think it is, ever survives that first collision with reality. It doesn't matter if you're on a battlefield, in a boardroom, or just trying to launch a new product. The second your beautiful plan meets the world hits back in ways you never saw coming.
So this begs a huge question for any leader out there. If you know for a fact that your plan is going to get messy, how do you lead? How do you actually get anything done when chaos isn't just a risk, it's pretty much a guarantee?
Well, the U.S. Army has an answer, and it's all captured in Army Doctrine Publication 5.0. It's built around what's called the operations process. The best way to think of it is as a blueprint for leading straight into uncertainty, a battle-tested way of thinking, deciding, and acting when everything is on the line.
So what is it, in a nutshell? The operations process is the Army's whole framework for what it calls mission command. It's the system that lets leaders look at a totally chaotic situation, see a path through the mess, make a call, and then actually guide their teams to get the job done.
And here is the absolute key. The goal isn't to create some perfect, rigid plan that never changes. No way. The goal is to generate tempo. It's about creating a cycle of decision-making that is so fast and so adaptive that your team is consistently acting and reacting faster than the competition. It's how you seize the initiative and never let it go.
The process itself is built on 4 core activities. But this is really important. This is not a linear checklist. It's not step 1, then step 2, then you're done. You've got to think of it like a continuous loop where everything is happening at once and constantly feeding into everything else.
So first, you plan. This is where you really build a shared understanding of the problem and figure out what winning actually looks like. Second, you prepare. This is where you do things like rehearsals and checks to turn that plan into real readiness. Third, you execute. That's go time, turning all that readiness into action. And fourth, and this is the magic part, you continuously assess, constantly checking reality, and feeding what you learn right back into the process to make your plan, your prep, and your execution even better.
Field Marshal Montgomery said it perfectly. Leadership doesn't just stop once the order is given. The real work is staying engaged, making sure the team is still moving toward that original goal, even when everything is changing around them. And who's driving this entire thing? The leader, the commander. The doctrine is super clear that this is not some mechanical, staff-driven exercise. It's a deeply human process. It runs on the judgment, the experience, and the unique vision of the person in charge.
The commander keeps this engine running through 6 key activities. They have to deeply understand the problem, visualize a better future, describe that vision clearly to the team, and then direct, lead, and assess everything as it unfolds. That's how an idea in one person's head becomes a synchronized action by a whole team.
That whole idea of the commander's visualization, it really just boils down to answering 3 fundamental questions. First, what's really going on right now? That's understanding. Second, where do we absolutely have to end up? That's envisioning the end state. And third, what's the general game plan for getting from here to there? That's the core concept that the entire plan is built on.
Now, this might be the most critical piece of the entire puzzle, the commander's intent. This is the secret sauce that unlocks what the Army calls disciplined initiative. It isn't just a list of tasks, it's the why. It's the reason behind the mission. It gives your team the power to make smart, independent decisions that still move toward the main goal, especially when the original plan goes out the window. And I love this quote from Field Marshal Slim because it just nails it. The staff can figure out all the technical details, but the intention, the purpose, the why, that has to come straight from the leader. It's personal. It's the soul of the plan.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the thinking part. So how does this mental vision actually become a real plan? A document that actually directs people and gets them all moving together.
At the end of the day, any really solid plan has 3 main parts. You've got your mission statement, That's the basic who, what, when, where, and why. You've got the commander's intent, the big why we just covered, and then you have the concept of operations.
Now, the intent and the concept of operations have this really crucial relationship. The commander's intent is all about the why, the destination. This gives your team freedom and flexibility. The concept of operations, though, that's the how. It's the broad strokes of the method you'll use so that everyone's actions are synchronized. One provides focus, the other provides teamwork. You absolutely have to have both to win.
And of course, you knew a patent quote was coming, right? This one just reinforces the whole philosophy. This process isn't about chasing perfection. It's about getting a good enough plan out the door so you can act now. Because in any competition, it's speed and aggressive adaptation that carry the day.
Now look, I know these ideas were forged in the heat of battle, but their power is universal. This is a framework for any leader, in any field, trying to solve a hard problem when you don't know what's coming next.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's this. ADP 5.0 teaches us that a plan is not some rigid script you have to follow no matter what. It's a living, breathing tool. Its real purpose is to create a deep, shared understanding of the vision and the goal. That alignment is what lets a team pivot, adapt, and overcome, especially when the future, like we said at the start, just refuses to play along.
And so that leaves us with one final question to think about. In your world, in your organization, are you just handing your team a static plan and hoping reality cooperates? Or are you leading a dynamic process of planning, building the shared understanding and trust that empowers your team to win no matter what happens next?